Hello guys, so basically today, Kirby Air Riders has come out, and a lot of the reviews have come out as well, and I just wanted to talk about one of the worst reviews I have seen. So today I'm not going to be attacking this reviewer, and I don't encourage you guys to attack him either, because it's just opinions over video games, and this is not like a hit piece like that guy who attacked the IGN Brothership review 9 months after it came out. But, yeah, I'm just going to talk about this review today because there was a lot of things that, were just straight up weird and, should not be in a review. But, yeah, let's get right into it. So, the first thing in the review starts off with, a people on the line, where we start off with them talking about the Nintendo Switch 2's reputation, and stating that Kirby Air Riders is probably one of the most controversial Nintendo games to release in recent memory. Which the funny thing about that is, are we going to forget about the Mario Kart World controversy? The Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC controversy, all the controversy with Pokemon Legends ZA. I could name 20 more games from Nintendo that were more controversial this year, on top of other companies. But yeah, I guess we're just not going to talk about that. The reviewer even pulls a Nintendo Land and mentions the lack of a 3D Mario game, which is just hilarious to me, because we had DK Bonanza this year. That was way better than every 3D Mario game. I don't think we need a 3D Mario game for multiple more years, because the Odyssey team did work on that, but whatever. The reviewer then goes on to say much more about the original Air Ride, saying that they didn't really like it that much, and they even drop a fundamentally flawed, and are befuddled that Air Riders would get 2 entire full-length directs about it. On top of that, they even claim that it is more of a remake than a sequel. And this just sparked a whole tangent that I want to go on, because I hear this a lot nowadays, where people will just call another entry in a franchise or a sequel just a remake of the original, or just a repackaged version of the original game. I saw someone say this with Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, where that game is basically just a port of Team Sonic Racing with some extra content. And I'm just confused how people can have this take, because, well, it's not a remake, it's called a sequel. I don't know if you guys are just misinformed, but the only thing that you could say is a remake are the returning tracks that were brought back from the original Air Ride, which, if you're going to consider that a remake, then every remake, well, Mario Kart Super Circuit is obviously a remake, since it brought back every track from Super Mario Kart. Mario Kart DS through Mario Kart World are also all remakes, because they bring back retro tracks. I don't know, I guess Sonic Generations is a remake, because it remakes previous stages from the past, but keeping the boost and classic Sonic in mind, so I guess that's just a remake as well. I don't know, maybe, what else would be considered a remake? Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a remake of Kirby 64, because I don't know, they both have 3D models or something. I don't know, Donkey Kong 64 and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong Bonanza is the remake, because they're both 3D Donkey Kong games. Yeah, it just makes no sense when you keep using the argument. And as I've said, Kirby Air Riders only brings back all the tracks from the original for the Air Ride mode. And it's not like the Air Ride mode is just all reused stages. There's also a plethora of new stages with fresh, unique concepts and looks as well. And on top of all of that, the new city trial map, Skya, is completely original. And to my knowledge, every Top Ride map is also original, but I haven't done much research on that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even plan on playing Top Ride, because that looks like bugs, but whatever. So here the reviewer is finally talking about the game, and first starts off with the control, And honestly, I wanted to put this in the video not because I want to debunk it or whatever, but I want to agree with the point that they said, and that they, there's only 2 buttons that you use, but only 4 of them. You only use 2 buttons, but they do like multiple different things. I feel like they should have fixed that. Like, you could have boost charge be like 1 button, but then like the copy ability usage is like another button, because it was kind of just annoying how you couldn't use 2 separate buttons for that. And it feels like they should have used 2 different ones. Like, sure, the original Air Ride was played with 1 button, but is it really worth making a more cumbersome experience in exchange for tradition? Because it's not like Air Ride's controls were ideal by any means. Like, sure, they were fine, even good for what they were, but like, no, it could have been a lot better if they just added another button. And it's not like they were opposed to adding another button, because they added another button for the special cage, so, they could have, added 1 more button, but whatever. So, I skipped over the parts where he's talking about Air Ride, because, that's basically a matter of opinion. So here he's talking about how there's no Grand Prix options, no tournaments, and yeah, there's no structure or whatever. And sure, I feel like it's kind of annoying that there's no traditional versus races where, what's it called? There's no versus races where you can't like play multiple tracks simultaneously without having to go back to the menu and change your vehicle or whatever. You only play like a single race or whatever. But I feel like the problem that you're having here is there's no particular reason to play again, but like there is a reason to play again. It's to play the game. I mean, wow, what a crazy concept, but when it comes to like a kart racer, you're going to be playing these maps over and over. It's not like you race on a course once and then you're done and never play the game again. You're meant to keep racing on these tracks over and over, and I don't know if I'm in the minority on that, and you're not supposed to do that, but that would be news to me. So here he's talking about City Trial, which he says is like no fun, which is a matter of opinion. Like, sure, I could try and debunk that and say, oh, you're not skill issue, blah 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 blah, blah whatever. What I wanted to mention is that minor spelling mistake, because he spells environment as environ or whatever, and yeah, that's just funny to me. And there was another spelling mistake in this review that I wanted to point out as well, because I just think it's funny how couldn't even be bothered to use like basic autocorrect for this review, but yeah, whatever. So here he's talking about the mini games that end City Trial, and his main complaint is that if your stats are not proven useful in the game that's picked, then you are not going to have a chance or a good chance of winning. And all I'm going to say here is that's kind of like the point. Like, you're supposed to try your best to get more of a balanced vehicle so you're not underpowered in a certain level, or you can try to be overpowered in a certain level and hope that your minigame gets picked so you mop the floor with everyone. That's kind of like the point of the game, but like, I guess you haven't figured that out yet? I don't know. I don't want to completely say skill issue because, I'm not too big of a fan of this either. But still, at the same time, like, I feel like you should have been able to figure that out at the very least. So, in this next part of the review, the reviewer basically talks about how the controls have been refined, but it still is basically the same as Air Ride all these years later, and it also, in the reviewer's opinion, feels a lot on rails and automatic because of the automatic acceleration and set pieces like the waterfall, and I think it was like Mount Amber Falls or something like that, where you go down like a giant waterfall and you're supposed to let the spectacle take over, which honestly I feel like compared to other racing games like Mario Kart or Sonic Racing, I feel like there is a lot more of that spectacle than like any of the other games. But like, to say that it's worse because of that, because it's not like the game is entirely on rails, because there is a lot of skill involved. And these moments of spectacle are like 1 or 2 seconds, or maybe not 1 or 2 seconds, maybe it's closer to 3 or 5. and then you're back to the normal race, and it's not like the entire race is filled with moments of spectacle. There's actually quite a lot of moments where you have to dodge things, take tight turns, get suck up enemies and get copy abilities, speed up. Like, there's plenty of skill involved. Lastly, the reviewer says if you want a good racing game on Switch 2, play Mario Kart, and if you want a good Kirby game, play Kirby in the Forgotten Land, but calls it Kirby in the Forgotten World. Oh my god, bro. Have you even played the game that you're trying to promote, bro? Like, dude, are we actually calling Kirby in the Forgotten Land Kirby in the Forgotten World? I actually didn't notice this earlier. I was gonna talk about a different point, but like, dude, if you're gonna glaze another game, at least call it the right thing, bro. Kirby in the Forgotten World. How did I not notice that? That looks so wrong, bro. But whatever, yeah, that's basically the end of this review, and like, moral of the story, it was kind of bad, but it wasn't terrible. Like, it's his own opinion and whatever. I feel like a 4 or a 40 out of 100, but that's basically a 4 out of 10. It's a little harsh, I'd say, but not all of his points were terrible. I think he brought up some okay stuff, but I feel like, trim the fat of, bringing up 3D Mario, and, maybe, like, calling games by the right names, but, that's kind of all I had to say. See you guys later. Peace.